So, what even is building in public? Welcome back to the Idea Supply Chain, where we take a look at where ideas come from and what makes those ideas valuable. Today's video is all about building in public. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't, but it's come up a couple times for me this week, so I figured, hey, let's talk about it. I have some very strong opinions on building in public, and they're not exactly in alignment with the way a lot of other people view it. But to start with, let's talk about what building in public is not, because I think it's important to clear up some of the misconceptions. Building in public is not a marketing technique. It's not something that's going to get you a ton of users for whatever it is you're building. You're probably not going to go viral. Hate to break it to you. One of the things that happened early on is that, especially on Twitter, when people started building in public, it was new because people didn't previously have these kind of media to transmit information on such a small scale. And so for the first time, you saw a bunch of people trying to just talk about the cool shit that they were building. And that took off. You had a bunch of people skyrocket to levels of success. And so other people saw that and said, I'm going to build in public too, and I'm going to grow my audience, and my apps are going to grow huge, and I'm going to be a millionaire, and I'm going to retire with my jet. It's going to be fantastic. Sorry, that's not going to happen, and you're going to end up being really disappointed when it doesn't. And I've seen a lot of people get frustrated and quit after a very short amount of time because they didn't get the results that they expected to get from building in public. Okay, so it's not marketing. Not a viral stunt. And, it's not about a one-time thing. This is one of the biggest things that social media gets wrong. Social media is all about the viral event. You have these spikes of followers or views or whatever on very specific messages that then trickle down into followers that then see other things. And this is actually a really weird way to set up a system because it's not predictable. Basically, we just throw a bunch of ideas out onto the internet, let them all collide around, and then occasionally you get a win. It's a goddamn slot machine is what it is. Building in public isn't about playing the slot machine. However, by building in public, you do inevitably play the slot machine, so if you happen to win the slot machine, you can still hit the jackpot, but don't count on it because that's not why you're doing it. Okay, so we outlined some of the things that building in public is not. Great. So what the hell is it, Leo? You're probably asking me right now. Well, to me, building in public is a lifestyle. And I say this very intentionally because I want you to think of it as something you do all the time. You don't actually have to be building anything. What it is, it's about being transparent with who you are online. You're talking about the problems that you care about, the things that you're interested in, the work you're putting in, because what you're doing is you're actually putting little investments into this online trust bank. You're giving people a reason over time to build trust with you. When they see that you're working on something over and over and over a long period of time, it's much easier to build trust. And so you can do these very small things over time to build up this trust. And what you want to focus on is attracting the people who are interested in the things that you're interested in. So you put your ideas out online, and this actually acts like a bit of a magnet because, you're not the only one saying things online, but more people read stuff online than say things online. And that's a very important thing to realize because most of the people who will read your stuff won't actually comment on it. And so you never actually get any feedback as to how valuable it is. But there are likely people reading it because there are people looking for people doing things about the stuff that they care about. People search for things online. Now, You might think of this in terms of search engine optimization and being able to, hit the top of Google rankings, whatever. That bullshit doesn't really matter nearly as much anymore. If you look, people are starting to actually turn to like social media. And how many times have you added Reddit to the end of a search to get the discussion on Reddit instead of dealing with, these SEO optimized bullshit articles that don't actually tell you anything important? People are avoiding those traps. Now, granted, you might still end up getting traffic, but I don't recommend trying to like do search engine optimization on any sort of building in public play. But what you're doing is, again, you're pulling people in. And when somebody finds you, you actually want to create something that is bingeable. And I talked about this a little bit and kind of proving, like showing your work online in a previous video, or actually probably several. I've lost track at this point because it's something I believe seriously in. But when you have a huge body of work out there and people can see that you've been after it for a long time, again, it's there. It's really easy to create something in a moment, especially with AI, right? Like you can do all sorts of things. That's something very specific in a single moment. It's much harder to showcase that over time. People don't want to put in the time. So when you've put in the time, you're already ahead of most of the crowd because most people aren't. Most people aren't putting enough time into the game to get better. They don't care about the problem for as long. They haven't been as focused on it. If you go back and scour the internet, I've been talking about a lot of the same shit for like 4 years now. Sometimes it'll wear you down. And, trust me, when I started building in public, yeah, I thought that was marketing. I thought I was going to go viral. I thought I was going to be successful. All of the misconceptions that I talked about in the beginning of this were misconceptions that I had when I started. But once I learned what it truly was, and I started to embody this, I took a much different approach. Because not only are you putting in the work and showing the proof there, you're also showing a look at possible paths for other people to take. And, I'll be honest, the path I'm on is not for everybody. It's definitely for me. I have no doubts about that. I've tasted freedom. I've seen what I can do on my own. A lot of shit is harder than I hoped. Not gonna lie about that. The whole lack of stability, it's fucking stressful. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I've tasted freedom. I'm improving every single day, doing so on my own schedule. And yeah, I gave up a lot of security to be here, but it's worth it. And so when I talk about the stuff that I'm doing, I try to be very, very honest and transparent because I don't want people making the same mistakes I did and thinking about things the same way I did. Because when you do that, you end up with weird behaviors that don't end up paying off, and then you've lost time. I want to save people time. I want to help them make smarter choices about their futures based on what I can share. And so I'm always trying to share my knowledge with people who are coming, after me, beside me, ahead of me in some cases. Time gets weird in the creator world, but hey, it's something where, we all have experiences to share. And so when you're building in public, you can really share a lot of who you are as a person and what you care about and what you're doing day to day. A lot of my tweets don't even reach 100 people, which is kind of mind-boggling with the whole like 2,000 followers thing. Doesn't quite seem to track, and it gets frustrating, and sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. But then occasionally I meet someone just amazing from Twitter, and I have a chat. And that's been a couple people this week that I've met through social media. And I get to have these really great conversations. And, that's where I found my co-founder for Score My Deck, talking on Twitter. I threw out some thoughts on the current state of investment. And he's like, hey, those mirror my thoughts. Like, this is what I've got. We should work together. And we did. And it was awesome. And again, it's this creation of like little magnets that attract your people to you. And so building in public is all about playing the long game. It's not about the short-term wins because, fuck it, you're not going to have any most likely. The odds are not in your favor. But that's okay because you're not in it for the short term. You get lottery tickets for everything you say, but don't optimize on the lottery ticket part. Optimize on the you part, and then anything else is a bonus. If you try to optimize too much on the lottery ticket part, you'll start doing things like faking MRR screenshots because everybody loves revenue. It's an easily digestible bit of information. People celebrate MRR because for most people who don't have an idea of like what building something is all about, or pursuing a dream, or caring deeply about a problem, the only way they can relate to that is through a concept like money or numbers. Oh, you got a bunch of followers. That seems good. But they don't know what it means because it doesn't actually fucking mean anything. Because it's easily faked. You know, it's not easily faked. Showing up day after day. Showcase who you are, what you believe in, what you care about, the problems you're solving, the problems you're not solving. What's fucking holding you back? So that's what building in public is. It's a lifestyle. And I wouldn't trade it for the world because it has brought me to where I am today. And it's going to take me to where I'm going in the future. Because it's not optional. For me, it's just part of who I am. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.